Okay, we are really 15 minutes over time, 19 minutes as per the watch. But a last question, we did not touch upon jazz at all. But is your you take from blues to jazz? Is it just about becoming more sophisticated, more learned in music, and getting the stuff, uh, and being a much better musician uh, with skills on an instrument that takes you to the next level? Which is jazz something that has its own interpretation, feel, and stuff like that. I have a very strong feeling that if you want to do jazz, you have to understand the complexity of music in a much better level. What do you say?
Well, actually, I'll tell you what I'll say is that first of all, to play jazz, you've got to like that music.
Hmm.
And for that reason, any other music, whether you like blues or rock or whatever, listen to a lot of that. If you listen to a lot of jazz, is the only way you play it. You can't just suddenly say, I'm going to become a jazz guitar player. Of course, you need to then expand your vocabulary of chords, flat nines, altered chords, all that kind of stuff. And but you do it from a point of view of just enjoying it. What is music all about? It's not sitting and looking at books and saying that I want to get a PhD in it, but you want to do it because you want to enjoy it. So if you want to play jazz because you enjoy it. And of course, you learn a lot of different things. There's a whole different approach. They'll take one blues chord of 12 bars and put in like 32 chords into it. Yeah, it's simple stuff, not made complicated, just made more. It's like just made more beautiful. Actually, it's like having a painting, and then you paint in different colors into each little thing, and then that's the way your song moves through. So you're doing, instead of when you're going from, so that kind of stuff. A simple blues is taken and expanded, but that makes it a lot of fun to play. That's it. I mean, I'm saying fun to play like I play a lot of jazz. I'm struggle with the form of music. I'm still struggling, but that is the thing. It's just opened out a whole new world for me. So what do you think, Amitav?
So actually, for me, so first time I properly heard jazz was I think Kenny Burrell, and he played only blues most of the time.
Lovely,
And
lovely, lovely.
and and for me, the first thing that struck is that the five is first of all replaced with a two fives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, and when you learn the two five there itself,
yeah.
you can apply that in so many standards.
Of course.
Like I mean, he played only blues licks over the two five also. Like if you just do, you go, and also chromaticism, a lot
Yeah,
of chromatic lines,
yeah.
and of course also a lot of arpeggios. It's full of arpeggios. Like
That is the sound. Yeah,
oh,
that is the sound of
that's
music.
the sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
So
is, sorry, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
no, no. So you go ahead.
Go on, go on, go on. What you were going to say? No?
No, another thing in I mean, jazz is it teaches you to go over the 1 to 4, the 2 5 1, and the 6 2 5 1 because it goes to the six also.
Yeah, yeah, of
So
course.
there they play these kind of notes. So already you've learned so much in jazz because you got the 2 5 1, the 6 2 5 1, and the 1 2 4.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you practice a lot of jazz blues and the same chord concepts you can use in standards.
yeah. Yeah, of course.
So so I think that's where the blues helps, where you start relating to jazz more.
What I like is when I'm playing like blues. It's like to play like a. You're putting a little flash in it.
Hmm.
So now the thing is, the notes are all blues notes, but you're applying the jazz thinking to it. The way you phrase it, the way you play it, it
Mm,
just makes it fun. Yeah. See, that's what it's all about, right? It's just about having fun.
yeah.
That's it. Don't get too serious about, oh man, no, this. See, enjoy it. When you enjoy it, it all happens.
So this is cool now. So let's talk about enjoying jazz albums. Okay, um, let's. So to jazz, and I've heard of this name called Miles Davis,
Yeah.
and someone has given me an album called, let's say an album like A Kind of Blue.
Mm.
Okay, so let's say I have Miles Davis, I have A Kind of Blue. Now, Amitav, can you tell me three things that I should on when I'm listening to this album that makes me appreciate the album well? What do you think are the three?
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Can you repeat that because I think
Breaking up here.
uh,
We're breaking up a bit.
I'm sorry about that. I'm breaking up.
no problem, sir.
Internet. Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
sir.
was
Yeah.
saying that let's say you take A Kind of Blue, the album. I want you to tell me if I'm a beginner, two or three things that I should concentrate on while listening to the album that makes me appreciate the album.
Okay, so the thing is, kind of blue. First of all, is a very so at least the starting track is very mellow because it's
Yeah.
not very fast. It swings and it's. I think you should enjoy the swing beat first because jazz is basically swing, and once you enjoy the swing beat, there's literally generations of jazz that you can enjoy because starting from the swing era, the bebop era, the hard bop era, and now the kind of blues part of the modal jazz era. One thing that has stayed consistent is swing. So I think that's one aspect of the jazz music that if you enjoy, you'll really like
Yeah.
it all. And
So
the
are you suggesting that I should, instead of starting with A Kind of Blue, I should listen to something more in the swings first to understand what jazz is?
actually that's not a bad idea because the swing music was actually the pop music of its time. It
People
was
listen.
very popular. Yeah, it's basically people used to call it dance music, but I mean there's a lot more to it, but it's very enjoyable. And if you can pick up that swing beat, I think all generations of jazz you can enjoy.
Super. And Ehsan, what would be the first album recommend that someone should listen to if you want to introduce yourself to jazz? Will it
Oh
be
well, there's a whole bunch of. I think the first thing is to listen to all the older standards like Autumn Leaves. Listen to all the things you are. Those are very sweet, beautiful songs to listen to, which were actually started off as vocal songs.
correct?
Those were composed as vocal songs. Then you listen to the vocal versions of that first, and then listen to the jazzy versions of that.
Yeah.
Talking about an essential listening album because it is and considered one of the finest jazz albums ever made. In the first song, that's such a cool thing to start with. When you hear the first song only, you feel it's kind of relatable because you're into blues and rock, and you're going and listening to a jazz album. But this doesn't feel. You feel like there's a certain swing to it. Your body is bobbing, so you feel that man, this is not what I've heard jazz to be like. All the outside stuff that you listen. And it's very and Miles Davis's playing is very cool, very in. This whole song is just two changes, two chords, D minor and E flat
Wow.
minor. Then you listen to a song like All Blues, like so All Blues. And the thing is, you hear the turnaround. This is a little out. This is your first introduction to an outside chord, to an altered chord. But it's a blues tune. It's absolutely the blues. You can go through the entire song playing just blues. You can do that. You play all your blues cliches, and then slowly you start moving out, over the turnaround. Then you got a song like Blue and Green, which I think is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. You know, It's so beautiful, this song, and then you hear intricacies of different chords, chord colors in a song, So that's making sound. But the thing is, then you move on, listen to Charlie Parker, listen to bebop, like the early bebop, and listen to even early swing like Benny Goodman and
Benny
that.
Goodman.
Because I do believe that Charlie Parker came from that form of music. That kind of stuff. And then you move on to like slightly things like Dexter Gordon, all great saxophone. There's a lot of great saxophone music, and all the piano players. Then you can move to when you're ready for it and you've got the guts. You move to John. You move to John Coltrane. And John Coltrane. I'll tell you what. We've heard Giant Steps, Love Supreme, and all, which was of course Love Supreme was much later. But if you listen to his earlier stuff, like Coltrane plays the blues and Blue
Hmm.
Train,
Blue
that's
Train.
straight blues. It's straight blues. He's really, gone for straight
Yeah.
blues,
No,
and
it's
it's great.
very interesting that you point that you made, because my father was not a musician at all, but he used to have these records. He had the Benny Goodman, he had Dizzy Gillespie, he had John Coltrane, and he had Charlie Parker. So
Yeah.
when I started learning music, I asked my father, I mean, this is such complex music. How are you listening to it as a non-musician? He said, I don't know the complexities. I just find it enjoyable. And he would sing of those songs exactly like how they were. That is
Yeah.
when I realized what Ehsaan is saying. You leave your theory and you leave your practice. You just enjoy music and feel it first.
Yeah.
If you can sing it, then you can learn it and you can play it. If
Really, really. But you got it. That's what the main thing is, to enjoy that music. You got to be listening to it like Madhav Chari. I think one of the finest piano players that India has ever seen, and unfortunately passed away. He used to say, if you like it, keep the music on all the time. All your waking hours, keep the music on softly at the back. Don't even turn it up so that it takes over your whole space. Keep a jazz album playing, or keep like a jazz channel on iTunes, just playing in the background. You'll start imbibing things. It'll start getting into your DNA. And then you'll start automatically playing it.
amazing. And Madhav Chari, for those listen to this album called Parisian Walkways, for example, is an album that Madhav Chari has done. I was one of those guys who actually released the album when I was at EMI, so it was a very proud moment at that
Yeah.
time.
There's unfortunately not too much of his music on Spotify, but there's a
Yeah,
playlist. Yeah, there's a playlist which I came across.
yeah, I think it's because of the labels who have not put it
Yeah.
out. So we're hunting out for it, but check it out for sure. So I'm almost done with all my questions. Anything that Amitav, you you want to ask Ehsan? I'm sure you would have asked them on phone calls, but anything you want to ask him about?
Yes, so this is a question I wanted to ask. Do you think going to MI now,
Huh.
is it still worth it as it was in the 80s?
I definitely think. See, the thing is, study curriculum you can get everywhere now. You go
Yeah,
online.
that's
There's teachers and
mm,
there's online lessons. But the experience of what a MI main experience is the human experience of being with all those musicians in the same place, being with thousands of musicians. Each one is playing sax, one is playing guitar, one is playing keyboards, one is playing something else. One's a songwriter. you know so that is my takeaway from MI, besides all the studies, was about how to play with people, how to relate to people, and create music with them. My songwriting took a huge leap after I came back from MI. My guitar playing had got a little stunted because suddenly I was thinking of Lydian flat 7 and harmonic minor and diminished, and that kind of stuff. But but the main thing is the human experience that you have of being with musicians, so many musicians, the competitiveness. Like I would openly say, the first day when I went to Musicians Institute, I was face to face with my mediocrity. How how like a mediocre guitar player I was compared to some of the kids there, and you got to accept it. Yeah, but that is a great starting point. That's a great dive, like a springboard for you to start moving upwards. So I think it's a great experience.
okay. Thank you so much.
So yeah, I think this comes to the end of the. Anyone here in the chat box, you want to drop a question? We'll be. I think we have
Yes.
1.5 hours, so we're over time. Any quick questions anybody wants? Improv solo by both. I'm sure they can,
We've
but
done.
it will not be in sync. So ideally, one should play after the other. So Ehsan, you can start, and then
Let's see. Let me
Yeah,
just
so
if I can pull up a little track or something. Hang on. Huh?
yeah, because if they play together, it cancels out
yeah,
each other. So
One second. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Just give me a sec. Huh? I'll play a little bit of a slow blues in A. That's it. Two cycles.
that was awesome. That was awesome.
is it audible now?
Great
Thank
stuff.
you so
Great,
much.
Oh, good stuff.
great stuff.
And for people watching, learning the guitar, check out the way he moved his hands from the on the fretboard from the top to the bottom. Very
Very important.
solid.
Very important to play all.
It was not boxes anymore. It is not just playing in a box or playing in three boxes. Moving a lot on a horizontal way. Is a very good way to improvise and make things your own. Superb work there.
Thank you so much, sir.
Loved it.
Thank you.
Loved it. Awesome, guys. I think it was great. Thank you so much for this. Great fun.
It's great fun, sir. Thank you so much.
I would go.
And thank you so much.
I would like to go. Actually, I mean, sorry, we're running out of time, but yeah, this can go on for. Maybe we should have a part two if life
Yeah.
permits. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Definitely.